Yo, what's going on, YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy, Kevin Forte. We are taking a look today, continuing my lineup predictions for the 2021-2022 NHL season. We're taking a look today at your Buffalo Sabres as we look at what their lineup could look like going into this fall for the opening night roster. So, let's get right into it. So the Buffalo Sabres are an interesting animal this year, and I don't think people are expecting much from the Sabres, and including myself. I think the Buffalo Sabres, this is a team that's going to be at the bottom of the NHL, and they're not necessarily trying to do that. With Jack Eichel and his injury situation continuing into the regular season more than likely at this point, because he won't be healthy for night one of the season unless he gets that surgery he wants, this team's going to be even more depleted. So we'll get into that. So looking at their forward lineup, you got in your top six, Jeff Skinner, Casey Mittelstadt, and Victor Olofsson. Victor Olofsson had a pretty okay season last year. Could have been a lot better. Jeff Skinner is going to get another opportunity on that top line. He's making $9 million. You kind of have to. And I think there is a lot of just hoping he'll return to some kind of form of a 20 to 25 goal scorer. But you're kind of asking for a lot. He just hasn't been there. And that's something that is very concerning for the Buffalo Sabres. Casey Mittelstadt, I know a lot of people don't like the idea of him of being the next face of the franchise. But that's what you're kind of looking at right now. And maybe we look back in 2 years from now, Casey Mittelstadt doesn't turn out, and we say they maybe should have taken Matty Beniers. But as of this point, you can't really do that. It comes down to Mittelstadt has to be the guy. And as much as I love Dylan Cousins, he is still very young as well. You're kind of hoping for these two guys to step up. And again, he's my second line center. It's going to be Mittelstadt and Dylan Cousins, who are still very young guys. So, in his second NHL season, for the potential of a sophomore slump, Dylan Cousins is now the second-line center of the Buffalo Sabres, which could be really good. It could also turn out really ugly, and I guess we'll find out, right, what ends up happening, but we'll see. You also have Vinny Hinostroza and Tage Thompson on the wings for Dylan Cousins. So Vinny Hinostroza has some potential. He's shown in the past he could be a serviceable NHL player. And I think he'd like the opportunity coming to Buffalo and maybe playing in that top six. I think that's a pretty good chance there. The question is, will he be able to kind of do what Skinner can do? A potential 15 to 20 goal scorer per season? That's kind of what they're hoping for Hinostroza this year, especially in the top six. Your bottom six, you got Anders Bjork, Rasmus Asplund, and Eetu Ristolainen, and I think there is some concern about guys like Bjork, who came over from Boston. They were hoping he could be a top six winger. That didn't really turn out, so I think Buffalo is just hoping to get a penalty-killing winger out of Bjork at this point. Kind of the same thing for Rasmus Asplund. He has the potential to become a really solid third-line center behind some of these guys like Mittelstadt and Cousins. But again, it's kind of a wait and see right now with Rasmus Asplund. And Ristolainen is a guy coming over from the Florida Panthers in that trade last year, who I think there's some potential there. And it kind of comes down to, does he have the potential to be a top six guy? And I just don't see that in terms of his ability to score goals. But I think on the third line, he does have some potential there. Now, the fourth line is definitely weak. You got Zemgus Girgensons, Cody Eakin, and Drake Caggiula. And some of these guys, they're just not very good. I think they have the potential to become scratch pad players for maybe some of the younger guys that I have on the depth chart for their forward group. Guys like John Hayden, guys like Ryan McInnes, who could also step into the lineup for some of those guys. I think there's definitely some potential there. Looking at your defense, you got Rasmus Dahlin and Henry Jokiharju. Rasmus Dahlin still has to re-sign his deal, which should be coming up very shortly, probably a bridge deal. But Rasmus Dahlin, he's going to be playing with a chip on his shoulder. He may want to get out of Buffalo. That is something that is a concern. But I really like what we've seen from Rasmus Dahlin. Again, last season was not a great year. But this is what happens with young defensemen. And the problem is he's playing top pairing minutes, which means he is being exposed even more. You look at some of the top pairing defensemen he's playing against and top forwards. I mean, he's playing against the top lines of other teams. That's asking for a lot from a young Dahlin who has struggled so far. So we'll see what happens there. I'll leave it at that. Your second pairing, you got Robert Hagg and Colin Miller, a couple of new guys there. Robert Hagg coming over from the Flyers. Colin Miller has been there for a little while. He was there last season, but he really struggled last year too. So he may be looking for a bounce-back season. Your third pairing, you got Will Butcher and Mark Pisick. Pisick comes back to Buffalo. I never thought I would be hearing somebody go back to Buffalo, but Pisick seems like he's going back to the Sabres. So we'll see what happens. Again, that's just what it feels like. We'll see what happens because a lot of these guys, I don't know. Will Butcher, you're kind of hoping for him to rewrite his career. I mean, you're just asking for something from guys that the talent's not there. And the Sabres maybe look at a guy like Butcher and Pisick as guys that maybe they could trade back at the deadline for more than what they traded them for. I think that's something that the Sabres may be looking at now as well. In terms of moving ahead. You also have Jacob Bryson, who actually played okay for the Buffalo Sabres last year, and I think he has the opportunity again at some point to maybe fill in terms of an injury potentially occurring. A guy like Jacob Bryson can jump into the lineup wherever he may need to be. And in between the pipes, definitely a downgrade. They lose Carter Hutton and Linus Ullmark, which means we now have Craig Anderson, who is on the verge of retirement, and Aaron Dell, two goaltenders that have really struggled. Craig Anderson in particular during the playoffs and regular season last year. Craig Anderson did not have a great season, so you're hoping that he could bounce back. But again, goaltenders don't normally bounce back from a bad season, and these are just placeholder guys. And some of the guys like Devin Levi, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, as they develop. These are kind of the mentors in the locker room, and that's really what we're being sold from these moves. So in terms of on the ice product being good from these guys, maybe set your expectations a little bit less in terms of what you'll expect in between the pipes. I think it's going to be a tough year for the Sabres. Probably one of the worst goaltending tandems in the league, and that's not a disrespect to Anderson and Dell. It's just I look at their defense that's in front of them, and I look at them as players, and what they looked like last year. This could be an utter disaster for the Sabres, and I've been saying this all video. We'll see what happens. So, with that said, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. What do you think of this Buffalo Sabres team? Because there is just a lot of holes on this team, a lot of questions, and I'm just flabbergasted that this is what the Sabres came up with. And I know it's hard to get guys into Buffalo, and I know, especially everything that's gone on with Eichel, it makes things even worse. But man, this could be a tough season for the Sabres. The good news is they do have a lot of young guys like Olofsson, like Cousins, like Middlestat, like Asplund, and Dahlin, obviously Owen Power, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, Devin Levi. They have the prospects, but we're just not seeing that come together yet. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And if you like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL and more videos just like this one, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and an even bigger subscribe down below. Guys, as always, make sure to check out our Streamlabs shop in the description down below. We have a little bit of a merch drop for you guys, so if you're interested in some of that stuff, we got some coffee mugs, we've got hats, sweatshirts, t-shirts, anything you could imagine, even a backpack for back to school. Make sure to check out those links down below. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next time.